This story begins in a rural mountainside village where a self-proclaimed humble old man named Beryl Gardinant is being trained by a much older man who is his father. The old man is sick of Beryl practicing his swordsmanship, even though he's now the master at their dojo, and advises him to focus on other things like marriage. As the old man doesn't have any grandchildren to look after in his last few days, Beryl ignores his dad's advice and then heads to his dojo to teach his students. Beryl's dojo is a backwater dojo that has been teaching sword skills for generations after generations. Beryl himself was born at this dojo, and for as long as he remembers, he has been honing his swordsmanship with wooden swords. Although one might consider the endless routine of eat, parry, and repeat pretty boring, Beryl enjoys it as he's able to pass his skills down to other young motivated individuals. He doesn't have mad skills, but still he is happy as a teacher because a number of his students have gone on to be successful in life. He comes back home from the dojo in the late afternoon and once again is pestered by his father to get married. The old man doesn't think it is a big request for him to get to see his grandchildren before getting isekai'd. He turns to his wife seeking her support, but instead of taking his side, the old lady takes her son's side, saying that sooner or later he will find someone to his liking. I mean, lady, your son's 50 or something. The only thing he'll find is women with menopause unless he's into younger girls, which is worse. It seems I've jinxed it, 'cause moments later, Lucia Citrus, a young lady who's Beryl's former student, comes knocking at his door. Lucia here is the commander of the royal knights of this kingdom, and since she's a product of Beryl's dojo, both Beryl and his father take pride in being her teachers. In any case, the reason she's come here today is to inform her former teacher that she too has now started to teach swordsmanship and has recommended Beryl as a special instructor for the knights, which has been approved by the imperial order. Beryl doesn't believe his ears. How can a village-born loser like him get such a big-shot opportunity all of a sudden? He can't refuse this offer because if he does, the kingdom will take it as a huge disrespect and consequently he might have to face the death penalty. Before Beryl can come to a decision, Lucia also lets him know that he'll have to head to the royal capital with her right now to discuss further about this. Beryl's father encourages him, telling him to get on the horse already, find a suitable wife at the capital, and only return with his future grandchildren. The old man also subtly suggests Beryl marry Lucia, to which Beryl becomes offended as he believes that their age gap is too high for them to engage in a romantic relationship. However, judging from Lucia's flustered reaction, I don't think she minds their age gap. She doesn't make a comment regarding this matter and sits quietly for the rest of their meeting there. Shortly after, both the master and the student are on their journey to the capital, and Beryl, being the talkative one, asks Lucia about the sword she's carrying which he gifted to her during her graduation at his dojo. It's not like he gave her any special treatment or anything. He gives all of the graduates at his dojo swords as gifts, but it looks like Lucia took too much of a liking to her sword. Regardless, Beryl thinks Lucia should get herself a better one since she is a commander now, but Lucia is fixated on using only that one. Anyway, Lucia expresses her excitement that the small-town swordmaster is finally going to be inspiring the people at the royal capital. Beryl, however, remains completely oblivious, thinking of himself as just a regular guy, and brushes Lucia off, assuming she's only saying that to flatter him. Lucia continues to shower her master with compliments and subtly tells him that she'll do her best to become worthy of him, which he doesn't even hear because he's too old. He simply responds by asking Nani. They arrive at the capital, where Beryl spends the night alone at a hotel cause it's too soon, and in the next morning he meets Lucia for his official introduction before the Knights of the Liberian Order. As the commander, Lucia gathers all of the knights and proudly introduces Beryl to everyone, saying he's on a whole different level compared to her. The flattery, which is actually true, is a bit much for Beryl to handle, but he still looks forward to working with everyone and promises them that he'll do his best to share his skills with them. While most of the knights clap and seem excited to have their new instructor, two individuals among them are not too pleased. Later, Lucia informs Beryl about his duties, telling him that he'll only need to come to the capital 3 to 4 times a month to train the knights, which should work well for him since he'll still be able to teach at his home dojo. While the two are talking, Karuni, a knight who was also one of Beryl's students, comes running over to greet her master. Lucia tells Beryl that just like Karuni, there are many others here who are eager for his tutelage. Hearing this, Beryl feels happy and considers himself lucky that he'll get to teach his former students again. After a long day, Beryl returns home and finds that one of his former students, Randrid, has come to visit his father, bringing along his wife and newborn child. Speaking of the old man, he doesn't even look at Beryl, demanding that he leave immediately and only return once he's had a child like Randrid. By the way, Randrid was once an adventurer and has only recently retired to settle down with his wife in the village. But the question remains, why has he come to the old man's house? The old man reveals to Beryl that since Beryl will have to stay at the capital from now on, he's decided to appoint Randrid as the new dojo master, making it clear that Beryl's stay in the capital is now inevitable. While walking in the streets of Baltrain, Master Beryl tells Alucia about his encounter with his master, who had chased him out of his old place. He apologizes for making her join him on his house hunt, and she doesn't see it as much as an inconvenience. Being so broke, he hopes they can find an affordable inn. Since he was new in town, he believes that Alucia will help him figure something out. Just then, she offers him a chance to live at her place, but he doesn't consider it an option. Shortly after, she asks that they go for lunch and he agrees. He assumes that this could be somewhat of a date. While they proceed to look for an inn, Alucia encounters someone she knows. Even though Alucia should be the one who is ashamed, Beryl felt uncomfortable that his presence would cause people to speak so lowly of Alucia, who happened to be the knight commander. He hides his face with a map in his hands. Turning around, Alucia sees Surina and cautions her not to be nosy. She then chooses to ignore the red head with a big heart and walk away. This comes off as being rude to Surina, who goes ahead to block the way. At this moment, Surina turns her sights to Beryl. She seeks to know who Alucia is calling her master and brings down the map to reveal his face. When she does so, Beryl immediately recognizes the plate on her neck and figures that she is a black rank adventurer. In a shocking turn of events, Surina recognizes Beryl as her master. Hearing her call him master, Beryl is shocked. Meanwhile, Surina tries to remind him about the time when he took her in 20 years ago and taught her how to use a sword. At the mention of that experience, Beryl is reminded about who she is. He remembers how scared she was to learn how to use the sword and is pleased by how well she has grown. Surina, on the other hand, reveals that she has always wanted to reach out to him, but had never gotten the chance to do so. She apologizes to him for this, but he is so happy to see her. After that, she seeks to know why he is in town with someone as pathetic as Alucia. Before he could give a response, Alucia reveals that he was appointed as special instructor to the Liberian Order and is looking for a place to stay. Hearing this, Surina is pissed that the clueless Alucia would be the one to help her master. The two get into a heated argument and eventually find somewhere suitable for Master Beryl together. After settling down, he asks that they both leave and they bid their farewells. While they do so, he watches them and acknowledges that it feels good to have his old students take care of him. The next day, at the Liberian Order, two students engage in a duel, and one of them ends up smashing the other student's sword to bits, forcing him to surrender. Just then, Alucia arrives with Master Beryl and announces that he would be instructing them today before she could go on any further. The student who had won the duel earlier steps forward. He claims that it takes a certain level of strength to be an instructor for the Liberian Order and asks that Beryl shows him how skillful he is. Hearing this, Beryl wonders who the hell this loudmouth is, and Alucia states that he is the vice commander of the order, Henblitz Drought. Furthermore, Henblitz asks to have a duel with Master Beryl and Alucia hurriedly agrees, since it would give her master the chance to school these clueless kids. Due to this, Beryl is forced to accept it, while Master Beryl and Henblitz face each other ready to start. The other students are left wondering if he would be able to come out victorious since they have never seen him fight. They even refer to him as an old man who can't teach them anything. On the other hand, Henblitz believes that Alucia only brought Viral here because he was her former master. He believes that Beryl's skills are washed up and all that's left is an old man. Even Beryl doesn't seem confident in his skill, but he hopes he doesn't lose so miserably in order not to put Alucia to shame. When the duel starts, Henblitz charges at Beryl, and he spends time defending the attacks and trying to understand the young lad's fight style. Seeing this, the students believe it is only a matter of time before Henblitz finishes Beryl off. However, Beryl seizes the chance to swerve off one of Henblitz's attack and hit him slightly on the chin. Even after doing this, he is worried that he didn't harm the young boy. But Henblitz still has the guts to talk shit. The two reset their stance and continue the duel. After a heated battle, Henblitz decides to finish him off with a powerful signature move of his, hoping that this would get him the victory. Every student seeing this believed that Beryl is done for, but he already figured out Henblitz's attack. Upon landing it, Beryl dodges it swiftly and taps him at the back with his sword. This shocks Henblitz to his bones. He concedes defeat and commends Beryl's extraordinary skill. He even asks Beryl to teach him the technique he used to avoid his attacks, but Beryl assures him that they would eventually get to that. Later that night, they all gather for some drinks to celebrate Beryl's appointment. While drinking, Henblitz apologizes for his rudeness, but Beryl doesn't see this as a problem. He believes it is only right to test his potential master's skills. Meanwhile, Alucia keeps rubbing it in Henblitz's face that Master Beryl is definitely strong, as she is so confident in her master's skills. Back at Beryl's old house, his master meets with Randrid, who is pleased that he was able to help Beryl get out in the world. He acknowledges that he has never seen a better swordsman than Beryl, and his master is pleased that Beryl would finally get the opportunity to see the outside world. The next morning at the Knights Academy, the young pupils have already started training under their new coach. Beryl carefully takes notes on everyone's stance, posture, and attack style, pointing out their mistakes and showing exactly why he's been appointed as their special instructor. He demonstrates how one should read the movements of their opponents and gives them little insights that might come in handy in many situations. Although Beryl believes his insights aren't that good, everyone still listens with their mouths wide open, like they've just heard some divine message. He continues to teach his ever-interested students, and after an earnest day at work, he steps out of the training room when Henblitz approaches him, thanking him for his contributions. Beryl's old student Karuni also rushes over after spotting him, asking if he's free this afternoon as she wants to show him around the capital. Assuming Beryl doesn't know much about the area, Beryl admits that all he does is come here early in the morning and leave straight for home after work. Hearing this, Henblitz agrees with Karuni and encourages him to go out with her. So Beryl finally agrees, and Karuni runs off to get dressed for the unofficial date. In the meantime, Beryl feels happy that he's settling in well here, only a week into being an instructor. On the other side, Alucia is currently having a meeting with the higher-ups discussing the Liberian Order's plans for the coming period. She manages to convince them of her upcoming initiatives and also assures them about the special instructor Beryl, telling them he exceeds all expectations. After attending the meeting, she stares out the window with her mind full of thoughts, mostly about Beryl and his well-being, because she's obsessed with him. She goes into detail about why she went to such lengths to get Beryl out of that backwater village, telling us about the time back in her childhood when she and her parents moved to the neighboring town of Beryl's village. One day, they visited Beryl's dojo after hearing a lot of good things about it. Seeing young Alucia, Beryl encouraged her and her parents to get her admitted so she could learn how to protect herself, because unlike the large cities, the rural areas around here weren't safe. Alucia, who was probably 10 years old at most, and Beryl, who still looked like he was freaking 40, were introduced for the first time. Yet Beryl managed to come across as so kind and humble that Alucia immediately agreed to train at his dojo. She started off practicing parrying under his supervision, and also learned to move efficiently. As that too was the trait of a master swordsman, her balance wasn't great, her strength was worse, but gradually she got better at everything and even grew stronger than her then rival, Randrid, who now manages the dojo. The only thing that encouraged her to keep going was Beryl's praises and compliments, even for the smallest things, and she always looked forward to training with him. Once she got a proper hold of her sword, Beryl decided to test her attack skills and engaged in a mock duel with her. As he took his stance, Alucia became confused. Unable to find any openings to strike him, she wondered why, but chose not to overthink it and charged at Beryl, who blocked her attack effortlessly and disarmed her within seconds. Although she lost, Beryl praised her for having good innate instincts, telling her she moved in at the right time, unlike others who would attack randomly. More days passed with her training, and one day a mock tournament was held between the students of Beryl's dojo and a neighboring town's dojo. Alucia showed just how talented she was by moving as lightly as a feather. She defeated her opponents with ease, and after Beryl's entire team decimated the rival dojo. Alucia, on their way back, questioned if they were too overpowered. She pointed out that Beryl himself had defeated the opposing dojo master, but Beryl claimed that he wasn't strong at all. What irked him was the fact that Alucia was focusing on winning or losing instead of what truly mattered, learning how to protect herself. Alucia suddenly noticed that her hair clip was missing and figured she had left it at the other dojo, so she rushed back there alone. As she entered the place, a group of male students from that dojo appeared from the shadows, with the one in the middle holding her hair clip. She tried to take it from him, but he threw it to the back and told her to go fetch it if she had the guts. They mocked her, saying a weak woman like her might win in a mock duel, but in real life she would never beat them. Alucia kept her calm, choosing not to engage in a meaningless fight, but the guy attacked her anyway. Fortunately, Beryl arrived just in time, tanking the hits and disarming the punk instantly. He then picked up Alucia's hair clip from the ground. Just as the dojo's master entered, just as hot-headed as his foolish students, but instead of acting irrationally, the master knelt down before Beryl, apologizing and begging him to overlook his students' misconduct. Beryl didn't think such a gesture was necessary and resolved the issue quickly before leaving with Alucia. Alucia kept staring at her hair clip, feeling guilty that her master had to take a hit because of her. She blamed herself for everything, but Beryl made it clear that she wasn't at fault. It was actually his own carelessness for letting her go alone to a dangerous place. Still, he was glad things turned out fine and told Alucia to move on from it. She, as a child, was obviously traumatized by what almost happened and began crying uncontrollably. Beryl, having no experience in taking care of children, tried to cheer her up by offering food and other things, but the tears just kept falling. This incident only made Alucia stronger mentally, and as she continued her training, she eventually became skilled enough to block and defeat Beryl in a mock duel. With nothing left to teach her, Beryl officially graduated her from his dojo and gifted her a sword as her graduation present, although Alucia believed she was nowhere near Beryl's level. She accepted his decision and took the sword, despite her heart telling her not to leave. After stepping out of his shadow, Alucia joined the Liberian Order to show the world that her master's swordsmanship was second to none. After passing the entrance exams with flying colors, she proved her level by not only defeating the other candidates, but also taking down the examiners, making her realize that if even they couldn't beat her, they were nowhere near her master's level. She knew exactly how oblivious Beryl was to his own talents, so she took it upon herself to show the world who the true master swordsman was. With that goal in mind, she worked her way up to the rank of commander and achieved immense success along the way. Fast forward to the present, she now has enough authority to become an instructor herself. It's been 10 years since she left the dojo, which, according to my rough calculations, makes her around 22 years old or so, and Beryl's still technically a pedophile. Although, in his defense, he's not the one chasing after girls, it's the girls who keep getting attracted to him. But anyway, Alucia had witnessed the fight between Beryl and Henblitz and came to the conclusion that Beryl was now even stronger, with sharper skills than ever before. She believes her master deserves far more than just the job of a special instructor. Some might say she's going overboard, but she doesn't think so. So she heads to Beryl's training room to give him the undisclosed news. Unfortunately, Beryl has already left for the day, according to Henblitz, who also mentions how amazed he was by Beryl's knowledge and insights earlier. Alucia asks if Beryl has gone back to the village, but Henblitz informs her that Kuruni has taken him out to show him around the capital. Hearing this makes Alucia jealous, since she had also planned to do that as a date, and now she's kind of mad that Kuruni unintentionally stole her idea. The scene shifts to the crowded marketplace of the capital, where Beryl is currently strolling with Kuruni. There at the western side of the city, since Kuruni enjoys that part the most, but Beryl doesn't feel it. He wants to visit the northern area where the tourist spots like the palace and the church are located. In response, Kuruni tells him that only old farts from the sticks go to places like that and accidentally deals emotional damage to our poor fellow. At that moment, Feis, yet another of Beryl's students, runs into him. At first, he fails to recognize her, which makes the pretend-to-be cat girl Feis visibly sad. To jog his memory, she shows him the sword he gave her as a graduation gift, which finally makes him realize she's also one of his students who completed training at his dojo. After thinking for a good minute, he finally remembers her and apologizes for not recognizing her earlier, saying she's changed a lot. Feist mentions that she trained alongside Kuruni back when she was Beryl's student, and that it's been 5 years since her graduation. Kuruni, proud of her friend, excitedly tells Beryl that Feist is now the star of the magic corps, meaning she's both a talented mage and a swordsman. Kuruni asks Feist what she's doing here at the market, and Feist replies that she came to buy some magic accessories. She shows Beryl an artifact as an example, something that can produce fire magic. Apparently anyone can use these artifacts, but they're insanely expensive and definitely not something the average person can afford. However, Feist reveals that she doesn't need such tools, casually demonstrating her ability to cast magical spells on command. According to Beryl, very few people in this world can actually become wizards, so he can only imagine how much effort she's put in to become a mage. He feels proud of her, although he's a little upset at the thought that she might have left her swordsmanship behind. But that doesn't seem to be the case. He stands corrected when a thief suddenly snatches an old lady's purse and fights without missing a beat, imbues her sword with mana, and captures the thief with ease. She uses sword magic, combining both her swordsmanship and magical prowess, making her a one-of-a-kind mage. Beryl thanks her without really explaining why, but it's clear he's just relieved and glad to see that she hasn't abandoned the path of the sword. Being a villager at heart, Beryl wakes up before sunrise the next morning and heads out for an early stroll, munching on a loaf of bread. That's when he runs into someone suspicious loitering in an alleyway. It's yet another female character. What a surprise. She introduces herself as Lucy Diamond, the commander of the Magic Corps. Thankfully, she isn't one of his students. Judging by her unusually small height, Beryl assumes she's just a little missy pretending to be someone important. He even offers to escort her home, thinking she's lost. That alone infuriates her to the point where she has to prove herself. She summons fire from her hand on the spot, forcing Beryl to take her seriously. Now convinced, he lets her tag along on his morning walk, during which she explains why she approached him. Apparently, Feist couldn't stop bragging about him after their meeting yesterday, and that's what piqued Lucy's curiosity. She wanted to see for herself if he was as strong as Feist claimed. And now she's lured him to a fighting arena, eager to test out her full power against someone tougher than the usual scrubs. After all, chances like this don't come around often. And with that, we have come to the end of this part. Stay tuned for next part. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to receive all the latest updates.